How's it going, guys? Welcome to Creative Rails. It's time for a layout update. That's right. That's all coming up right now, all new on Creative Rails. Hey, how's it going? Welcome back. So let's jump right into it. Let's go into a layout update. I thought, when I thought about doing one of these videos, I didn't think I had a lot completed, but I checked out the last layout update video and there has been some changes. So I wanted to jump right into it with you guys. Here we go. Let's start on basically the south end of Chesley. So what's going on here is the overpass scene, and I haven't talked about this yet. This is an old wooden overpass that went over the basically the throat of the yard into Chesley. I'm just using old photographs to get this going and get the contours right and to get the bridge as close as I can. But literally I just used some blocks of pink styrofoam, cut those, put those in. Then I did the road contour with foam core, and then I filled it all in with spray foam. Really easy, quick, nifty way to do it. Next thing, what I'll do is carve out that spray foam, and then it's gonna get sculpt and mold, and I'll do the plaster abutments, and then we go into the bridge building. So it's gonna be a really cool scene. I'm really excited for that to come together. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the fuel dealership. It's the funniest thing. The littlest details make the biggest difference, and I couldn't believe it. I went online and I found an old Esso sign, like a real life sign, and I just scaled it down and printed it and cut it out and put it on the tank because that's how it looks on the prototype. But this made a huge difference. I was really surprised how these little things give the layout life. So yeah, I got that little Esso sign on there, and as you can see, I'm also working on the walkways on the top of the tanks. The walkways are just made out of strip wood, just scratch built them, put them in. I just got a couple little pieces now to get in there. Now that I have the tanks pretty well where I want them, that's gonna basically cement it in and stone. They need to be weathered, tanks need a little bit of weathering, and that's gonna be about it. Now, if you notice in that scene, now you're seeing it's actually an Esso dealership, and that's what it was back in the day. And I've got a Texaco truck sitting there. So don't worry, the Esso truck is on the way, but it's coming from Germany. I bought it off eBay. It took me forever to find one for a decent price. So it's on the way. It's just taking forever in the mail because it's coming from Germany. If we go to a little bit to the right, something else I've started on, and it's just a little scratch built fence. And this is really just gonna be kind of like a barbed wire type thing. All this is made out of is toothpicks stained with India ink and alcohol. They're put on there, and the next thing I've got some brown, coppery, rusty looking thread that I'm gonna just tack on there with some CA. But it's hard. The cool thing is the illusion is working, basically, or I can see the illusion coming through. Basically, it's gonna make that backdrop start to look 3D. So it's just an oil painted backdrop. But now that I have that fence going in, it's really pushing that background back, and I can just imagine now when we have that 3D wire on there and then some grasses in front, it's really gonna push that painting back and make it blend in. So I'm really excited about that. Really little detail, but it goes to show these little tiny things, the difference they can make on the railroad. Now, huge accomplishment on the railroad. To a lot of you, probably not a big deal, but to anybody that has done this knows how big of an accomplishment it is. Ladies and gentlemen, the north end of Chesley and the south end of Chesley, the yard, all the track is now hand painted, completely done. So this is a huge undertaking, folks. It's taking me forever. It's tedious. It's hard on the back. It's annoying, but I am super glad that I did it. Now I will admit, when I first started doing it, I'm like, man, I should have just spray painted this like the last layout, but I am really happy with the results. So you're probably thinking, okay, that's not that big of a deal, but it's a huge deal because what it means is now we can go ahead with ballasting everything. Everything can be ballast. Then the tracks and rails get weathered in the ties, and from there, scenery. Okay, so doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's a huge step completed. It's something that I've been procrastinating on forever, but it's finally done. So I'm really excited about that. Huge deal. Yeah, track done in the Chesley area. With that and kind of going from that and into scenery, if you look at this scene here, I've started experimenting with static grass. So now you're starting to see the method to my madness. There is a method that I have in my head, and it is starting to come together. So that's why I'm putting all this time into these layers. When you look at Mother Nature and you look at real life, it is like that. You've got these layers of colors and textures, and now we're getting into that top layer of the static grass. Now I'm doing it by hand. I gotta admit to you, it's a lot of work. It's, especially on a layout this size. I am now debating whether or not to get a static grass applicator. It's just my hope, my fear is I don't want it to look like everybody else's. I find static grass is one of those things, everybody does it now, right? It's kind of like the Woodland Scenics materials. Everybody does it, it all looks the same. So that's why I have been doing it by hand, but I might just get lazy and do the applicator. I'm not sure. I've also read in some forums and people having trouble with the applicator, so I don't know. It's something you're probably gonna end up seeing me do it just to save time, because it's a really tedious process. But this is how it's looking so far, just to start. I'm happy with the results, and I'll keep you updated on that. So sticking with the scenery theme, my Fragmite trees. I'll link this at the end in the card thing at the end. A while back I did a video on model trees out of Fragmite. You're probably wondering what that is. It's this invasive tall grass species. You've most likely seen it on the side of the highways. I thought this stuff would make some cool trees. Now, the funny thing is, I originally thought it would make cool spruce trees or some kind of pine tree, but I ended up making them, a hardwood. So I wasn't quite pleased with them. They're great for a background tree or a filler tree, or if you want to get like a quick canopy in, they're great for that. But I wanted to mix them with my foreground because this is really a shelf layout, so that my scenes aren't that deep. So I've just done a little bit more experimenting with them, and what I've found is if you're not careful, you can end up just making these look like cotton candy. Literally, they just look like big puff balls on a stick. So what I'm finding is if you really claw them out more and get a little bit more air in them, do that, and now I'm adding some texture with leaves. I've tried ground foam, not happy with that. It gives you more of that puffball look. So I'm using, me personally, I'm using the Scenic Express Super Leafs. I'm really happy with the results, and then spray painting them, adding different colors. So still working on that. I'll keep you guys updated on that, but I'm happy with how they're starting to look now. It's coming together, so it's pretty cool. With that, if you look back in this corner by the Helix, where we left off with the layout update, last layout update was the Helix wasn't even started. So now we're at the bridge level. So we're coming around here. The bridge has come in, but I've decided I'm gonna basically finish the Helix, get to the top and get Parkhead roughed in. Then I'm gonna build the bridge scene. It's gonna be a lot of work. The bridge has come in, it's the Micro Mark 1, but I have to do it custom. I'm gonna hand lay the track on it. It's actually gonna, believe it or not, it's gonna be easier just because of the radius that I'm using. But that's the plan with that. So the hold up right now with the Helix is I have all the track, I have most of the material. The hold up is that corner. I have to get that corner scenic. Now, it doesn't have to be super detailed like the rest of the layout because it's so far back and hidden, but I do want to have something there to blend in with the surrounding scenery. So when you're basically bringing a train around, it's a nice look for the train to come around. It'll look nice on videos, right, and in pictures. So I have to do that because to get in there after the scenic that is gonna be impossible because you have to reach through the Helix and it's going to be a nightmare. You're basically going to be able to get under there and in there to clean the track and fix a derailment or something, but that's about it. Doing scenery in there, no thanks. So I want to get that done, then I'll be moving on with the rest of the Helix. It's kind of still in the scenery thing. Now I'm going to talk about just one structure. And it's the one structure I showed on the, if you missed it, it was called Creative Corner, and it was scratch building with budget materials, something like that. I can't remember what I called it. But I showed an elevator that I was building basically out of scraps. And here's how it is coming together now. This elevator, like I said before, is built out of cardboard. I am matching it to the prototype or as close as I can. from photographs. It's built out of cardboard, and what I'm doing now is covering it with corrugated metal. And this, of course, is just made out of a heavy gauge tinfoil that I've used out of an applicator made out of toothpicks, which I saw on another YouTube video. I can't remember the guy's name, but I'm going to do a separate video on that, show how it's done. I'll give credit then. But anyways, it's coming along. I'm really happy with how it's going. Basically, just getting these pieces on. It's rustic. It's got that look I'm going for. And I know, like, to you right now, it probably looks a bit rough, but I know once I have the doors on and I have the eaves on and I have the fascia boards on and the roof, windows, all that, the platform, I know this is going to be a really nice structure. I'm really happy with how it's coming together. So basically, spray painted, some dry brushing, a little bit of a wash, and some weathering powder to give it that rust look. And this is where it's at right now. So yeah, as you can see, there has been quite a bit of progress made compared to the last one. I can't believe it. We're at the 5th video already for layout updates. With that, folks, thanks so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. As always, happy model railroading. Stay creative. Take care, my friends. See you later. Bye-bye.